Robert's asking who does Cameron think will replace Kennedy, and I was going to ask something similar. It's like, okay,
Yes.
I mean, this has gone on for a long time. I mean, a lot of damage has been done to Star Wars. I mean, does it matter? Is it too late? I mean, what
No,
does
it's not
people
too
need
late.
to
I mean,
do
that,
in order
yeah.
to bring people back and make Star Wars great?
The current narrative of what I call the blobs. The reason I call them the
Okay.
blobs, the blobs on YouTube are, these eternally negative people, and they're not negative because they even believe what they're saying. They're just saying it because they think it's going to get them money, and to a large degree, it's gotten them clicks and money. But I call them blobs because I consider them like a 1950s bad science fiction blob movie where the blob just keeps consuming everything and all light and all life, right, just to feed itself, which is what these guys are. Any hope you have for Star Wars, I like Skeleton Key, I liked Andor, Skeleton Crew, I liked Andor, whatever it is, whatever hope you have, they take it away from you. They're like, no, you can't like it. It was terrible. It was woke. It was this and that. So they suck everything away. It's the blobs. And they're quite prominent. And so these blobs, right? The new narrative is the one that you're just telling me. And I know you're just saying what is being said right now, but that is an invented narrative. It's too late. I know what invented narratives are. When I keep seeing the same phrases used over and over, it means certain YouTubers have seeded phrases in the psyche of Star Wars fans. So when everyone starts repeating the same phrase, it's like when everyone started saying, "Well, Jon Favreau has quit," even though he clearly hadn't quit, right? And my source was like, "I don't know what to talk about." In the office, he got his parking spot, and I was the only one saying Jon Favreau has not
That's
quit.
right.
But he became a meme. Everyone, Jon Favreau has quit. And the first one of this nonsensical memes, Heath, was, if you remember, all roads lead to the sequel trilogy. That was a made-up statement that these blobs made up, and everyone repeated. To this day, people repeat that, even if it makes no sense. Even if you point out, well, what about this? It happened on this show. That alters the timeline, doesn't it? What, didn't Ahsoka just do this? That's not in the sequel trilogy timeline. That changes it. They don't want to hear it because all roads lead to the sequel. So now this new mantra is, that it's too late. I don't know what this means, too late. The fact is, people love Star Wars. They just want a Star Wars that doesn't suck. They wanted this person who's clearly hates Star Wars, hates it. They wanted her gone, and they got that. And there's stuff that people do like. People do like Grogu. They like Baby Yoda. They like Mando, right? They like a lot of these characters. They're just burned out because this ridiculous, person, Miss Kennedy, keeps coming in, spoiling everything they do. But she's gone now. But she is gone. There's nothing she can do because she's lame duck. She can't.
Right.
Now there's been publicly announced, by multiple trades that she is out, right? And that they're even talking about her successor potentials, right? There's nothing she can do. She can't raise a finger to say, I don't like what they're doing with Andrew too. We need to make more, women who have superpowers for no reason. No one's gonna listen to her. Even if she complained about it in the trades, people are like, well, you're out of here. It's like, the last president in the last 2 weeks, who cares what he thinks? He's gonna be gone, right? And
Yeah.
so that's where we are. And so it's not too late. It was never too late. It was about getting rid of this person, and the person you can blame for the years wasted is Bob Iger. Because as I talked about on my Patreon today, so if we can go, Heath and Doug, if I can go into a little bit of the Patreon scoop I had today.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you saw so after we got this information last night, I reached out to my insider, Sparrow, and said, what do you know? What can you tell me? And after they contacted me, responded, it was clear they had already known this, but they kept their tongue. They had been giving me hints. Anyone reading my Patreon will see that, I posted even just a couple of weeks ago that Sparrow was saying that Kennedy is essentially done. No one's even thinking about her. And then they basically told me, okay, now I can tell you what really happened. Because they're wise. If they had revealed some of these things before, they would be identified and fired. Because certain things were only known to a small group of people. Once they became broadly known, they can talk about it, and no one can say, hey, are you the person talking to Cameron? Right? So they waited on this one. But they told me, they were aware that Kennedy had essentially been terminated or reached an agreement to leave in October of 2024, right? This coincides with what Matt Belloni reported, because Matt Belloni last night said that she apparently was ready to leave at the end of last year, but for whatever reason, she didn't do it. Well, Sparrow told me the reason. What is the reason? The reason is this, is that she had had a conversation in October, which is when we were thinking, people at the time were like, everyone's saying her contract's up. Why aren't we not hearing anything? Well, what it was her contract was up, and this is how the world works. Certainly, this is how Hollywood works. Iger said to her that at the end of October 2024, your contract is up. We are not renewing you. So you have two choices. You can either publicly announce that you are stepping away of your own free will and retiring from Star Wars, or we tell everyone we didn't renew your contract and you were fired. Which one do you choose? So she said, all right. She knows she was out of cards by then. And she's like, all right, I will retire. But then I realized I can't let her actually say it because it's October. What's in November, gentlemen? Remember what was happening in November of last year? The election.
Right.
Right? And so the election is a lot of uncertainty. Iger and the studio heads were betting that Trump would win, right? And maybe they engineered it. Who knows how the world really works, right? But but they were betting that. They were betting that, and but the rest of Hollywood wasn't. And so to suddenly announce during the election that the most powerful woman, quote unquote, of Hollywood, and she is not, but that's the mantra, right? Is being removed by a white male, right? At the time when Trump, would that actually impact like people's behavior? Because everyone in Hollywood was very relaxed during the day of election. Everyone I knew was like, this is gonna be a landslide for Ms. Harris. Not have to worry about it, right? And then they were quite shocked by the outcome. I was not shocked. I knew it was gonna be a landslide the other way around, but I kept my mouth shut, right? And then so that kind of disruption would have made Iger look very bad at a time when all of Hollywood was very relaxed and unaware that Mr. Trump was about to take everything. So he couldn't cause that drama. Secondly, if he had announced it in November, or December, he was very afraid because right after Trump's victory, there was market volatility and there was fear that because no one knew what was going to happen next, and there were always the morons and our progressive friends who said he's never going to take office. We'll stop it. The Supreme Court will stop it. That kind of stuff, right? And so he's like, well, we can't do anything until this dude's in office because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. And if we take major moves with a figure of this much public importance, it will cause volatility, extreme volatility of the Disney stock. And so they waited and waited and waited until a few weeks after Trump was essentially solidified in, the industry had sullenly accepted reality to the not just accepted it, all the studios started publicly dismantling their DEI organizations. Not just quietly saying we're not, we fired this person, but we're still committed to diversity, blah blah. They said we're not doing this anymore, right? And Hollywood was speechless, but there was nothing they could do. And the fact that Hollywood could do nothing was a signal to Iger that he is now politically safe to remove the most powerful woman in Hollywood without being called a sexist, misogynist male. This was all
Yep.
about him. If there's anyone to blame for the many years it took to remove this person, it's because he didn't have the guts to do it for his own personal standing inside of Hollywood and his political ambitions. And when he felt the safest possible, my source said he then went ahead and instructed Jon Favreau to leak this out, right? And that appears to be confirmed that it was Favreau that leaked this out because we already see there is resistance, very minor resistance, but resistance where Variety in their article said, well, one person, in their article where they confirmed that she's leaving, one person close to Miss Kennedy said this isn't true. She'll leave when she wants to. One person, and they kind of dismissed that person. And then they had, I think it was CNN actually came out with some sources close to Kennedy say it's not true at all. She's not going anywhere. But nobody's paying attention to CNN because the trades in Hollywood define the narrative, not CNN. Because the very fact that Kennedy had to go to the CNN, which is not a Hollywood insider, it's a generic, media corporation, had to go to them to get her, mealy mouth effort to say, I'm not leaving, nobody make me leave, right? Because the trades wouldn't publish it. Because the trades know it's a lie. Why, if this were true, why wouldn't she have the front page of Hollywood Reporter say it's a lie, I'm not going anywhere? Instead, she has unnamed sources tell CNN, you know, that she's not going anywhere. Shouldn't she be telling that to Variety, right? Because
I
Variety doesn't
noticed
publish it.
I noticed that all the announcements about the Ray stuff came exclusively from these really low tier, like social media news outlets, like a
Yes.
Collider or a Screen Rant. That's the only place I see anything about it, and it's weird. And then it's all coordinated. They all blast it out all at once, and
Yeah.
I see it everywhere, but only from these small social media sites.
Because those are her contact levels. I mean,
Right?
eventually, the trades went along with some of the nonsense. They went along with the Sharmito Bait Chinoy nonsense for a little bit, right? But then they had to all eat crow when, the much vaunted writer, Stephen Knight, as I said he would, left the
Yeah.
project without a script. I said that a year before that there was no script, that the script he handed in was terrible. And then he eventually, a year later, leaves without a script. And then they allegedly hire somebody else. And, poor Sharmino Beit-Chunoy, she's, as I like to say, our Charmine's been squeezed the Charmine. She's getting squeezed out. Nobody cares what she has to say. Nobody in the trades cares what she has to say. She's bumming around. Yeah, I'm gonna make this movie someday. Nobody believes that, right? Anymore. And so it's a, this is a day for the victory of reality and common sense, and for like 3 or 4 people who spoke truth while everyone else was a lemming. It's funny. All of these people that attacked me on YouTube, they all present themselves as alleged right-wing culture warriors, blah, 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 blah. They had lots of opinions about, how the lockdowns and all that were handled, right? I have very strong opinions on that as well. But, they went along with the narrative of that was, not even right. But a lot of people had the belief that those were handled unjustly and were used to oppress people, and they went outside the bounds of what was necessary. They went along with that narrative, right? But they didn't do it because they thought anything about it. They just went along with the narrative. In the same way, these guys went along with a narrative about Kennedy for years, right? Without
Yeah.
checking into reality of things, right?
Well,
And
but it
so,
was the same pattern
you
too.
think these people believe what they say? They don't believe what they say. Yep.
Yeah, but it was and Cameron, you helped me understand kind of how it all works because the pattern was identical. Make the announcement.
Yeah.
And it was almost always an announcement that was anti-fan base type of announcement. So you had the fan base sites reacting to it, and it getting a lot of buzz. And I was like, she is playing this PR game. That's her game. I decided that what she's good at. She's not telling good Star Wars stories. She's good at telling good news stories.